The National Student Financial Aid Scheme has until the 2nd of February to settle all outstanding rental payments in order to avoid a student accommodation crisis. The Private Student Housing Association says that over 7,000 students could be without accommodation if NSFAS fails to settle a 444 million rand debt to private residence providers. The Private Student Housing Association says its members are not backing down and will not permit students to return unless the debt is settled. Now, for more on this matter, we join on the line by Private Student Housing Association Chief Executive Officer Kagisho Mamabolo. Mr. Mamabolo, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us.
First off, how did the Private Student Housing Association and NSFAS end up in this situation?
We actually don't know. It still escapes us, Sakina, because when the administrator came to NSFAS early last year, we had a very good working relationship. We interacted with him, we exchanged information. We came to a point where we took a decision as a sector that the students that are still waiting for NSFAS to confirm whether they are funded or not funded will still be left in our residences for as long as NSFAS can confirm that by the end of 2024, these students would be paid for. And at the time, I think we were talking about 20,000 students. We engaged NSFAS, and then around November, we informed NSFAS that, look, we are sitting at a bill of 44 million. It looks like these students are going to leave the residences without having been paid for. And we request that at least let's close this matter so that the student also, when they leave our residences, they have certainty. And NSFAS never responded. Our accommodation providers sent endless emails. We called, we harassed the officials. We found ourselves in this situation where we realized that we can no longer do this nicodemously in the boardrooms. Let's rather take this to the media so that people and the students and the parents of the students can see that we are frustrated and there's nothing we can do except to call for help publicly.
So, Mr. Mamabolo, as you say, you don't quite understand how you got to this particular point. But then, has there been any communication as to what the sticking points are that are preventing NSFAS from settling this debt?
Well, they always tell us, and which I think is what they have said even yesterday when we spoke to them, that they need to verify the students, they need to do. And we said to them, no, hang on. These are the students you verified last year, and you said to us they are legitimate and they qualify for funding. As to why money has not been processed, we don't know. Either there are people in the system that are sabotaging this and they're benefiting from the crisis, or there's just no proper leadership there, and there's no proper accountability. And on top of it, I think we just believe that perhaps people don't understand that if you pay for 10 students, it gives you no excuse not to pay for one student and park students for later. I think students must be treated fairly, must be informed on time, and the service providers also must be paid on time to ensure that they are not reducing the services they offer to students.
So, as the situation stands right now then, Mr. Mamabolo, you've given NSFAS, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, 2 weeks to settle the outstanding rental payments. What happens if they don't meet the deadline?
Unfortunately, if they don't reach the deadline, we will communicate to the students and inform them that they need to take the matter up with NSFAS. And unfortunately, some of these students left their things in the rooms because they had hopes that they will return to their rooms this year. We'll have to ask them to move them out. There's implication on storage, and there's an implication of, preparing the room right in time for the other students. We'll reach out to the minister and the department. We'll reach out to portfolio committees. We will try to reach out to almost everyone that can assist. But at the end of the day, the students are therefore going to be left with debt. And again, they will be left with no place to stay. And it's something that we find it unfair and regrettable for the students.
So to that point, you say the students will be left with debt, but this debt was supposed to be settled by NSFAS. So how
Yes.
will the students then have that debt accrue to them?
It's a very, very honest question, and I think I do not have an answer for the question. What I can say is that we have municipal bills that have piled up for last year because our members couldn't pay. We run unlimited electricity for the students. We run unlimited Wi-Fi for the students. And we run endless of programs to ensure the students are not worried about their safety and wellness when they are on our facilities. But I think what just really made the matters worse is when we received a communication from NSFAS last week that says, please allow the students to stay for free for the month of January. And on top of that, NSFAS further said, also remember, we don't pay for January and we don't pay for December. And we just find that disingenuous and disrespectful. So the students will have to take it up with relevant authorities. But at this moment, I think our members are legitimate to say that they will attach that debt to the students, and then will also try to recover from NSFAS.
Mr. Mamabolo, how many students will be affected if NSFAS fails to pay?
You know, Sakina, we are just only talking about members of PSHA. So here we're talking about more than 7,000. But I have seen since we have come out that in Durban, there are also protests, and there are other landlords in other parts of South Africa that are not happy. So it could be significantly higher than 7,000 because we have seen landlords crying and holding NSFAS hostage last year in December. And they were just saying, this is it, we can't take it no more.
And you also claim that NSFAS has failed to pronounce on the rates for the 2025 academic year. Is that correct? And what is the current rate?
The current rate is kept at 50,000 per student, Sakina, and obviously depending on which grading your accommodation is at, you will then given a certain amount for that grading. But also the 50,000, remember, it is a cap which was introduced in 2023, and this cap came from 60,000, and it was dropped drastically without any consultation, and we find it inadequate. Why are we saying inadequate? We were required to build student accommodation according to the Department of Higher Education and Training norms and standards. Those norms and standards are very specific. You need to have the size of the room, you need to have curtains, you need to have desks, you need to have boards, you need to have this and that. And all those things, if we build according to that standard, there's no way that 50,000 per student will be inadequate. So
all right.
We ask NSFAS.
We're going to have to leave it there for today, Mr. Mamabolo, but of course we need to follow up on this and bring NSFAS into the conversation as well. But thanks so much for outlining and explaining to us what the crux of this matter is. Kagisho Mamabolo is Private Student Housing Association CEO, speaking about non-payment of student accommodation providers and what the possible impact will be for students returning.